right. Welcome. So we are in stage 7 and we are wrapping up this series from the rainfall to the ocean and mapping it out, what that looks like inside of our personal growth, our podcast growth, and our business growth, and kind of putting them all together with the goal and intention of reaching the ocean. Now, I'd like to start off that I'm not going to knock anybody for stopping anywhere in this journey and resting content for whatever stage of development that you are in. And I'm not going to judge or criticize you for doing so. That it's up to you personally to decide where it is that you want to go. And you have the choice to stop at any stage or any level that you want. And that goes for every single area of your life. You can stop short of your potential if you want to, all right? But I'm under the impression, if you're listening today, that you are an ambitious person, and that is you want to go somewhere, and you want to go somewhere great, and you want to go somewhere big. And that's exactly what stage 7 is. And that is the ocean is the vastness of growth and possibilities that is building a legacy and something that outlives you. All right. Think of this, if you are faith-based, that this is the entering into the promised land. That is a land that is flowing with milk and honey. All right. Now, most people never reach this stage of the ocean because they never really defined where it is that they want to go. So this is the final stage, the promised land, where your life begins to leverage that future vision of yourself. All right. So the land that is flowing with milk and honey. And this is all about legacy. This is all about impact. Now, I don't know about you, but I want the things that I do today. We know, that old Stoic quote fits here, is that what we do now will echo in eternity. Let me tell you, that is a powerful quote. In fact, I tell myself every single day that I am going to do my immortal self justice. And that I know that what I do today is a record, and it will be examined and be looked at, and it will be known, and the reputation will precede you to the other side. And so knowing that should inspire in us a sense of gravity of this life experience and what we're trying to do and accomplish, okay? So the ocean is the vastness and the degree of impact which is connected to legacy. And this has the thought and idea that I'm going to be the difference inside of my family tree, my lineage. I'm going to make a difference. Now, this ain't grandiose to think that you'll impact 10 generations down the road, or they'll know who you are, or anything like that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But to have a direct impact on 3 to 4 generations that come after you in a very positive way because of the victory that you established inside of your life, and because of the ground that you gained, other people are able to gain ground. And the thought and idea behind that is that if you are trailblazing a path, that you have trudged the trail and made the path, and that is generations behind you can follow that path, all right? And that is that you're going to have outcomes, you're going to have fruit, and you're going to have results that outlive your life, all right? So the ocean, getting to the ocean, is all built on leverage. And I'm going to give you the psychology behind this, because it's important for us to understand kind of the inner workings of our own makeup and the psyche behind it. It's really important. So we are motivated by a couple of different things. And that is, in general, we are motivated to escape pain. And that is Nobody likes to sit in their pain and suffer. Well, I should say maybe some people do, but in general, we are all trying to get out of pain, to avoid pain, to walk away from pain, shun pain, resist pain, right? And that we're trying to go on a journey towards pleasure or the promised land. Now, if you think of this in kind of like the biblical terms of the children of Israel and them entering the promised land, they were leaving slavery, that was the pain. And they went into the wilderness, which was a time of testing and trial and all these different things. So they're trying to get out of these different stages of their pain and to begin to step in to their promised land. And we know that the initial generation failed to do so. All right. But we have pain as a leverage. Pain is definitely a leverage, right? This is where people hit rock bottom and they begin to change and shift, right? This is where people have a midlife crisis and they begin to think about legacy and the things that matter most. This is where people are forced into a pain or a situation that causes them to contemplate their mortality and that they start to understand, my days are numbered. And that I need to get busy and to get with the program and all these different things because I'm at the halfway point and or it's limited in some way or fashion. Or some people have an accident that happens inside of their life, a near-death experience, a situation that in form of a crisis that really jolts them and wakes them up. And this gets them into the second half of life where they're starting to think about legacy. And some people have loss and suffering of losing somebody inside of their life that kind of jolts them and wakes them up into the second half of life, right? And we know, like inside of addictions and therapies and codependencies and all of that different stuff, that if a pain or if a bottom is produced inside of somebody's life and we stop the cushioning of that bottom and let them experience the pain that is associated with their decisions, they're more apt to change because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that is, they want to get out of the pain. All right. Pain is leverage. Now, but what I'm going to talk to you about today is a superpower when it comes to leverage. And I think it's more in line with empowerment and legacy and who it is that you want to become, and that is pleasure. You see, the reason why the second generation went in, because they experienced the pain of the generation above them decisions, right? And that is, they came to the point where they were ready to take action. And that is, we are done with this pain. And so they begin to project out to the land that was flowing with milk and honey. And so that is, they had a future vision of themselves that was pulling them towards the greatness that they were looking for. And this is the pleasure principle, is, can I understand so clearly the future self that is the land flowing with milk and honey, that is the promised land? Can I see that thing so clearly that it can leverage, I can use that to leverage myself into transition, change, and transformation to become the thing, to become that person that makes the future self a reality and a possibility. So today here, I'm not going to tell you what the ocean feels like. I'm not going to lay out the steps or the enemies in the ocean. And as I was contemplating and digging deep these truths within my own soul, I was like, I don't have the authority or the right to talk about the ocean because I'm not in there. I'm not there yet, right? It's kind of like Martin Luther King Jr. today. All right. He had a dream. He wasn't claiming to be in the promised land. He had a dream of the promised land, of a future vision of what this looks like in America. And he began to lay out what that future vision looked like so people can desire it and get hungry for it. He wasn't under the illusion that he was living in that state in reality now. All right? He wasn't. But he says, I can see it. I may not be going there with you, but I can see it. I can taste it. I can feel it, right? And so he was talking about the ocean, the land flowing with milk and honey, and the promise, all right? And so I would be a pretty good hypocrite if I came to you with all the principles to survive in the ocean and all the enemies that you're going to face in the ocean and all these different things, and I'm not personally there myself, all right? And I refuse to be that kind of person, and that I'm not going to talk about that. So what I'm going to do is for you to do what I have done, and that is that you get a clear vision of what the land flowing with milk and honey, what that ocean looks like for you. All right. Now, the Bible says that where there is no vision, the people perish. And inside of the Hebrew language, it literally means to cast off restraints. And that is, if you don't have a vision, then you don't have a focal point, and that you don't have boundary markers inside of your life to keep you contained and moving forward towards that future self. All right. Hope. Remember, the Bible says that faith, hope, and love are the greatest, but the greatest of these is love. And that is hope is the expectation of good in your future. If you do not have hope, you are going to be hopeless. And this is the reason why people are just going through the motions inside of life, is that because they haven't set the positive expectation of good in their future. This is one of the main causes of mild melancholy, is that the humdrumness of life is because the person doesn't have a future vision of themselves that is absolutely compelling, that wakes them up in the morning and causes them to burn with passion and desire. They don't have a hope, and so they're hopeless. And you can tell by the communication that comes out of their mouth, right? So the ocean. If you don't have a vision, you're going to be all over the place. And that is, you're going to drift. You're not going to have restraint for the focal point on where it is that you want to go. So you'll drift. If you don't have a vision, you will shrink, because the part of the vision is something grandiose, and that it is something that is huge and big. It's amazing. The land flowing with milk and honey is amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing. And so if you don't set the vision that is big, hairy, audacious goals, then you are going to shrink. And that is, if you don't see what your full potential looks like and feels like, you are never going to get there. And that is, you're not going to be even on the road or the path to reaching your full potential, because you can't even see, define, know, taste, experience, whatever it is, of what that feels like. And lastly, you're going to stall. Remember, I'm talking about leverage, and that leverage is to reach the ocean, and that expectation is good in your future, and that is a future vision of yourself that will cause you to focus, not drift, not shrink, and not stall, because you know where you are going. Let me tell you, there is nothing worse than not knowing where you're going, right? This is the reason why faith is so good, is because it gives you a destination, right? In my faith gives me a destination, unification with God, marriage supper of the Lamb, like all of this different terminology that gives me a destination, a future vision of myself, of where it is that I'm going to arrive to. See, but not only do you need hope in the sweet by and by of what your immortal self looks like, but you need that in the here and now. But if I were to give you the first ingredient to this ocean sort of mentality and setting what the ocean looks like is, what am I becoming? Who will I be? Now, the early theologians had no problem with theosis. We have a major problem with that today. But that is, we don't even know and understand what it is that we are going to become, John says, but we know that we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And that is, within that context is a immortal being with immortal life. And that is, your future self is completely whole. There is no sorrow, there is no pain. You are completely integrated, completely authentic. There is nothing that you are hiding. Completely whole, healed. The restoration of your heart and your soul. All right? Whole. Completely eternal. The Bible describes this as a glorified state. Yeah. For my people out there that like to keep humanity down, this is a major problem for them. And that is, you are headed to a glorified state. You are headed to a immortal body that is eternal, whole, and glorified. Not only that, but you are going to be endowed with a sense of responsibility, and you're going to have a mission, and you're going to have things to do, right? And even a step further, that it's going to be here on this earth. We can't even begin to imagine our immortal selves, but we need to have kind of a little bit of a reality of what it is, what that looks like. Because if I can get a future vision of my immortal self, that I can begin to walk inside of the confidence and begin to embody that today. Let me put it to you this way. Let's say the President of the United States. He calls you up and says, I see who you are and what you're about, and I got this mission and assignment for you. All right? Let's take the politicalness out of this, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Let's just take all of that out. Let's just say the president, because most of you go, I wouldn't listen to that, whatever. Take all of that drama and baggage out of it. That you got a mission and assignment, report here, 90 days, right? And he tells you about the position. And it's a position of influence. It's a position of authority. It fits your talents, skills, and abilities to the T. Okay, it's for you. It was made for you, all right? And you know, in 90 days that you're going to walk into that position, mission, assignments. How are you going to live? You're going to live in joy. You're going to live in peace. You're going to live in excitement. You're going to live in all kinds of different things because you know all about the future vision of yourself and what it is that is coming in your future. You see, we want the power to be like high vibe. And that is to live in authenticity and gratitude and love, joy and peace and tranquil state and all these different things, not understanding that that is connected to the future vision of our immortal self. Now let's ground this in reality. And that is, you have a future vision of yourself here in this world and in this life. And that future vision of yourself, it contains your areas of your life. And if you haven't created a future vision of that, I encourage you to do so, because if your destination is the ocean, massive legacy and impact, you have to be super, super clear on where it is that you're going. So we have a future vision of ourselves inside of our faith. Where are we spiritually? What are we doing missionally? How are we giving back? How are we contributing to something that is bigger and greater than ourselves? What our family looks like. Let me just describe my faith part for you, right? Mentorship is near and dear to my heart. I'm here today because of mentors that have invested in my life. They decided that I was worth the time, energy, and resources, and they literally changed my life. And that is, these powerful men decided that I was significant enough, that I was worthy enough of their time and investment, and it changed my life, right? Whenever I talk about this in detail, it gives me chill bumps, right? And that is, my faith is connected to this passion, knowing what it feels like to be lost, to be mentored by the world. I mean, I had mentors inside of the world and inside of gangs that were raising me up to be a criminal, right? And so I had the negative mentorship and all that stuff. And so I know what it feels like to be in the pain of bad mentors or no mentorship, right? So the future vision of myself is connected to the thing that radically changed my life. And that is to some sort of discipleship, mentorship, where people can get mentored and somebody can invest in their life. In fact, it bugs me deeply that the church world today does not have an established mentorship program. And that is, the customer journey process is say this creed, get this baptism, get this membership, join this small group or whatever. And there is no mentor or mentee relationship established in a lot of different churches. Sad, all right? Disturbs me, because that is connected to the future vision of myself. Now, family. I vision myself, my wife and I as a central hub of success for all the generations that are underneath us. I envision us giving them mindsets and vision and opportunities and all these different things, right? A large house with all the grandkids running around, right? The future vision of what my family looks like. I have a future vision of what fitness looks like for me, an elite athlete, right? And I'm on my way there. Finances, financially independence in the next short period of time where I don't have to work another day in my life if I don't want to, and that I can focus on my mission and giving back and those sort of things, all right? So, clearly seeing what the ocean, the promised land, looks like for you inside of immortality, inside of right here and right now, inside of your faith, family, fitness, and finances. And what does that look like? We can take it a step further and go inside of your business. And that is, you have this baby. And this baby is called your business. And inside of your business, you have the same 4 different categories. What does your future marketing look like? What does your future sales process look like? What does your future operations look like? What does your future finance and revenue goals look like? All right. And the best way to kind of do this is to sit down and answer some questions. There is not going to get clarity without doing the work. And that is, you're going to have to do the work required to get super, super clear. All right. So some of these questions look like, in the promised land, in the ocean, what do I do most mornings? Pick a time slot. What am I doing between 7 and 9? Move on to the next one. What am I doing between 9 and 11? Like, describe what the ocean, the promised land, looks like for you. All right? Mine is super easy. The morning looks like gym. It looks like personal growth. It looks like time with God in the Word and prayer, those sort of things, first couple of hours in the morning. That's what that looks like. All right, that's my promised land. This is the habits and routines that I want to establish and continue inside of this promised land. Right. So let's just go 3 years from now. 3 years from now, what are you doing most mornings? 3 years from now, and take this journey seriously. Write these questions down and sit and answer them. Right? These are going to give you massive amount of clarity. 3 years from now, what do I want to be known for by strangers? And this is, if I could be known for that guy, what is it? I look at that and I think, well, if I want to be known for that guy, I would think that the guy that motivated people to take action, to speak their truth, to build their influence, to build their platform, to come out of invisibility, to become visible. And that is, I was that guy who helped leaders lead. I was that guy who made a difference in somebody's life, that they got off the sidelines and they took action. I was that guy that gave people permission to be successful and to have influence and to create impact. I was that guy. All right? 3 years from now, who is it that you serve? And what I would encourage you to do is to stop thinking small. All right? Because we limit ourselves greatly by our small degree of thinking. And that is, name the exact person that you want to serve. What do people thank me for? You know, this is science-based too. One of the things that produces gratitude to the nth degree is not a gratitude practice where you think of all the things that you are grateful for. The actual science behind gratitude is appreciation. And that is, you have done something for somebody else and they have become grateful for you and they attach some sort of appreciation to you. And now they experience the feelings of gratitude and you experience the feelings of gratitude. The best way to get into a gratitude state is to go out into the world and make other people grateful for your existence. This is proved by science, okay? I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. Go out into the world, do good, serve, show up, make a whole lot of people grateful that you were on this planet. And let me tell you, you are going to have feelings of gratitude. Now, inside of the Christian faith, the whole Lord's Supper and the communion that we have and the gratitude ritual that we have, a recollection, that is because Christ decided that he was going to do something that was of epic proportions that would inspire a sense of gratitude inside of another. He was going to do a thing that would cause somebody else to be thankful for. Not only that, but we would have a ritual where we would be thankful for it repeatedly. God knows how to produce gratitude, right? One's grateful children, not entitled children, grateful children. So what are people going to thank you for? What are you not gonna do anymore? 3 years from now, what are you not gonna do anymore, right? What does your income look like? What does your week look like? What does your body look like? What does your marriage look like? All of these different things, okay? So this is getting you a clear vision. What kind of impact and outcome do you want to make? How many people are different because you existed? How many? Tim, I'm not into numbers. False humility. I'm not into numbers. Every number is a person that you impact. If you want to impact 1,000 people, by all means, just say it. If you want to impact 10,000 people, just say it. I'm not ashamed to say that I want 3,000 people inside of my podcast network who have been highly impacted and affected by my leadership. 3,000, all right? How many people? What are the outcomes? What is the future self? What is the goal that you want to achieve? How many people are transformed because of your services? See it, believe it, taste it. Let it become real and tangible, all right? The next is the systems and processes outcome, okay? And that is there something that can operate without me? And most coaches will tell you that if you can't leave your business for 30 days and it doesn't function without you and it collapses, you're not even close to legacy-driven thinking yet. All right? And let me tell you, I'm not there. And this is the reason why I'm talking about it, is projecting outward of what that looks like It looks like creating a business, a systems and processes that doesn't have you all in the mix. And that is, it can operate completely independent from you. What are the outcomes that you want to achieve? Is it a book series? Is it a podcast that gets monetization and that you can live off the resources from your podcast? Is it a tribe, a community, a movement? What is it? And what is it that is going to remain after you are gone? Maybe it's a business empire. Maybe it's a nonprofit that focuses on service. What is it? Maybe it's hundreds of books. Maybe it's thousands upon thousands of episodes on podcasts that are going to help people through their journey. What is it that you want to remain after you are gone? All right. So this is the way that we do this, is get super clear on what your ocean is. And the way this looks like is, my ocean is when I fill in the blank. I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? My ocean is when I, ... We're going to fill in that statement, okay? For, ... Through, ... So that, ... All right? So it's a fill in the blank. My future vision of myself, what the promised land and the ocean looks like for me, is when I do what? Let me show you what this looks like. My ocean is when I build disciple makers for everyday men through media and community so that faith becomes lived, not earned. My ocean, or my promised land, is when I build a network of creators through podcasting systems so that voices turn into movements. Come on. My ocean is when I build an army of elders that are thoroughly equipped to be mentors and to mentor the younger generation to create legacy, influence, and impacts. My ocean is when I get thousands of people off the sideline and get them from invisibility to visibility so they can create their influence and impact. All right? Now, these should be powerful statements that make you want to punch through a wall, run through a troop, and leap over a wall. That's the kind of excitement, the mission, the energy, the emotional leverage that you are going to need to be successful. And that is, it's got to hit home. It's got to hit home. And once again, the reason why it hits home is because you are disturbed. This is how somebody knows if they have a calling and a mission. And that is, it should sink down in the fire inside of your bones, and it should disturb you to the core, because that is the thing that is going to leverage you to take action. All right? I hate this. I absolutely positively hate this so much. I can't stand that this is a reality. Can't stand it. I hate it to the core, right? You think Mother Teresa, she couldn't stand poverty. She couldn't stand the abuse and the neglect of children, all right? Think of Martin Luther King Jr. today. Whether you like the guy or not, shady history, shady past, whatever, he still had a dream, right? And he hated the fact that these things were a reality. What do you hate? What is something that you are no longer going to tolerate in yourself? What is something that the problem that you want to solve inside of the world that bugs you so much, right? One of the biggest things for me, and you could probably find it inside of my communication, is that dead middle inside of my siblings of, I got like 5 or 6 brothers older than me, 5 or 6 brothers or sisters older than me, 5 or 6 brothers or sisters younger than me. I say 5 or 6 because some mystery ones came along, as I've gotten older. So I don't really know the count, but let's just say, I think it's 11, it might be 12, all right? And I'm smack dab in the middle. And growing up inside of an addiction environment where your parents are addicted to heroin and there's schizophrenia and there's drugs and there's prostitution. Your mother's a prostitute. She's selling herself to get the dope, like all of these different things. And you're surrounded by this environment that is, you get neglected. Your emotional, your physical, your spiritual, everything about you gets neglected. And what communicates to you as that you don't matter, all right? That you are not significant. You are not worthy, right? You can see it welling up inside of me. This is how you know you're tapping into something deep. You can feel it in your heart, at a heart level, all right? So insignificant, not worthy, and my needs don't matter. What you want doesn't matter. Stay out of sight and stay out of mind. You are invisible. Nobody sees you. Nobody hears you. And it's no wonder my mission in life is to take somebody from invisibility, where they are not seen and they're not known and they're not heard, and they're told that their needs don't matter. Don't try to get attention. Don't try to get influence. Don't try to become something great. You see why that disturbs me, bugs me, right? So what is this going to require me to become? What is it that the future vision of myself, who is that guy? What does he value? What is he doing? How is he living? How is he showing up? What does he look like? And am I willing today, right now, to make the sacrifice, to do the things that are required to build that man, to build that guy, right? Now, I think there's a concept of past, in that is you have to understand and integrate the younger version of you that was in a lot of pain, a lot of heartache. But once you understand the younger version of you and you can solve the younger version of you problems, then you are in a state where you can project out to the future version of you and to become that man. And that is, if you're not willing to deal with your past, it's really hard to build the future. And this is why any programs that are worth their salt inside of growth and development have you deal with your insecurities and your fears and some of the dark stuff, the past, because if you don't fix your issues and your problems with your insecurities and fears, they're going to be repeated. So healing is for the rebuilding, all right? Deal with your stuff, consciously build and create the life that you want, all right? Any program that just causes you to deal with your stuff is going to keep you stuck. Any program that causes you to project the future vision of your stuff without dealing with your dark side, with your issues and your fears, is going to keep you stuck. Right? So we have to decide. Am I going to get clarity on what I look like in the future? And am I willing to do what is required today to become that man? All right, that's it. That's the promised land. That's the ocean. You're on your way there. I'll see you tomorrow.